All right, welcome back into another episode of Indiebnb. Today we are joined by Abbi Jean from Harrisonburg, Virginia. Jeans
Yeah.
like the jeans you wear. What's
Yes.
up?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course, of course. Well, been loving your stuff. You got an album. Oh my gosh! Welcome back to Stroke. Here we go. I had an album release,
Yeah.
in July here. So, looking forward to diving into that. But
Thank you.
before we do that, like, how'd this whole thing get started? What makes you, start making music and start releasing it on Spotify and go from there?
Well, I started my solo project right as I was about to enter college. So right after I graduated high school, I was like in a band with some of my friends, and I was the oldest one. So I was like, we're all separating. I don't know what to do. I was always writing throughout high school. A couple tracks on the album I did actually write when I was like a sophomore or junior in high school. And so I was like, I need to start this, get in the recording studio. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how recording worked. So in August of 2023, I recorded my first EP, Coming Clean, and I didn't release it until February of 2024, which is when everything kind of started to like kick off. I started playing a lot of like solo gigs at like breweries and everything, which was fun. But I definitely know that I wanted to delve more into the local scene of Harrisonburg and actually like try to create a name for myself as much as I could, especially because the music industry is so saturated, and I was like trying to find something that would like push me out. And so that was when I found this studio in Mount Solon, Virginia called Glade, and it's basically a massive like 70s cabin. And I was like writing all summer, all summer, all summer. I like went through a breakup, and that obviously like I guess kickstarts all your writing. And so I wrote an entire album during the summertime. I recorded, and then it just like it all just happened so fast. I had no idea what I was doing going to the recording process. I didn't have a band yet. Like I didn't even really have much familiarity with the local like DIY scene of Harrisonburg, and so I was still doing brewery gigs and like singing covers and not really playing my own music. So I kind of was struggling with like the individuality aspect of being a musician and like figuring out what I actually wanted for myself. And then I recorded that album. I really started to like delve into local scenes of like Virginia and build a band. And like I was able to build a band with some like my best friends, and they actually were able to play in on the studio tracks like of the album as well. And it just kind of started snowballing. I started applying to festivals, and then just like now we're here. So it was really awesome. It's really cool because around this time last year is when I was recording this album. So
Wow. Okay. So we had it seems like a pretty tight turnaround from high
yeah.
school to getting to, the point we're at today. Like, obviously, thought a lot of folks that you mentioned there, like, I guess who's somebody that like really kind of has, championed you and helped you. Obviously you can thank your ex-boyfriend for the tracks and everything, but like, anyone else that you'd want to like kind of shout out on that?
The owner of Glade, CJ Christopher Janos Metz, he is amazing. Like he has helped me so much. He's the one that told me like, Abby, get out of playing brewery gigs and start building a band and applying at all, like start going to venues that will bring people out that actually want to hear you and not you singing somebody else's words. And that, like, I was talking about this last night because he texted me. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of all your growth in the last year." And like, I was telling him that I genuinely could have not done it without him because he is like my number one supporter in the studio, outside of the studio, like promotes me heavily. And I try to do the same with him because his studio is incredible, and him and his wife own it, and they're just such good people. So I would say like he is the one person that has really mentored me throughout this entire process and has my best interests and has never tried to like screw me over, because the music industry, can sometimes be really fishy, and like there's just nothing about him that is like off-putting. Like it's just welcome arms. So it's been really beneficial for me in this last year.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah.
CJ, kind of a mentor, getting the thing
Shout
going. I
out
love
CJ.
it. Shout out CJ. Well, you mentioned to me before we started this, like you found us through Bera, our good friend, that is She's from Atlanta, but is in the Northern Virginia, DC area. So
Yeah.
shout out Era for hooking this up.
Up Era.
Um, but want to dive into Harrisburg. I mean, tell me a little bit about the town. Like you mentioned a couple times, you're like, hey, like we're trying to get into some local gigs there. Like, what does that mean? Like, where are the spots? Like, give us
Okay.
a little inner.
Harrisonburg is like deep. Like I go to school at James Madison University. So originally when I was applying, like I had no idea that the school even had a music scene. And the lovely thing about it is that there's like the college and then there's the actual town. And it's kind of a separate entity outside of JMU. But like a lot of the students, host events and host concerts. And for example, um, JMU, like the radio station that is like based here, WXJM, does this thing called Mac Rock every year, and it's like one of the biggest DIY festivals on the East Coast that supports independent artists and is like super big in like artist hospitality and artist ethics. And just I got the opportunity to play it last year, which was super full circle for me because my freshman year of college, I went to Mac Rock for the first time ever, and I saw all these like super cool, like niche, obscure bands from like Brooklyn and Miami and all these like states. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this exists. Like you are able to pursue music outside of being assigned to a major label. Like you don't need to have trillions and like millions in funding. You know what I mean? So that was super cool to see. For spots, a lot of the residents of Harrisonburg have like show houses, and so we have a lot of DIY shows that people come and play, which is really cool. We have like an old built-out climbing gym that's now a music venue, and it's very like it's like it starts at punk time, like share the address. Like they're not super like open about it, but it creates such a big sense of community, which has been so helpful in like building what I'm trying to build, because community is like the biggest thing for me. So yeah, that's Harrisonburg, Virginia for you. It's really awesome and super underrated.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, educating me, a big city Atlantan, about some places that maybe, a Mac Rock festival that we need to go check out maybe and
Yeah,
see if there's some more folks that need to get on the
totally.
pod.
Yes, 100%.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's dive in. I mean, the album came out in July. You've had some some time to think about the release, and I know like it's often that you probably wrote these songs a while ago, and that you're kind of probably mentally we're sitting here on October 7th. This will be released later in probably November or late October, but like you're mentally usually sometimes like, hey, I'm on the next thing. Like I'm on like
Right.
I've written an album since that came out,
Right.
and so. But I want you to kind of turn your head back, time machine it here, and let's talk through it. I mean, a couple of the songs that really stuck out to me, "Acceptance" and "Unwritten." Really the "Acceptance" song spoke to me because it's just like a romance gone wrong, and
Yeah.
like it's a you keep getting ran back to, you keep kind
Yeah.
of, it felt like being used. There's a pretty big
Yeah.
theme there, so
Yeah. Very big
we
theme.
don't need to get too deep into any personal stuff here, but like what inspired you on that song? What are the things that kind of the themes you wanted to portray there, and then how do we get the music? Where did the everything come from?
Well, I was sitting in my freshman year dorm. I was a naive freshman and I had like no idea about, like love lives in college or whatever. Like I grew up very independent. I've always been very independent. So I never really experienced like the idea of like a partner like running back to you and like leaving and then coming back again and then leaving. It was just such like a mind game. And so that's where it all started. I was sitting and talking with my roommate, and we always would like sit on the floor until like 3 a.m. and have conversations and like try to like analyze like the behavior of everyone around us. And so I was sitting and trying to just think about how I felt finally, instead of trying to analyze how he felt the entire time. I was like, I need to sit and like reflect on my own thoughts. So I was sitting there, the song fell out of me like water, like literally just spilled out. I wrote it in like 5 minutes. I played it for my roommate and she was like, that perfectly encapsulates like your situation. So I don't know, it was a very new feeling for me, and I didn't really know how to stick up for myself at the time. And I think rather than like communicating and using like spoken words, I just did it through music. And that was a really big milestone for me, I think, especially just in my confidence and like self-worth. Like, no, writing that and knowing that I wrote it and that I meant every single word that I said was huge for me.
Love it. I mean, do you think like is that's part of a lot of people come on here and they're talking about music is like a little bit of a therapeutic part of it? Like, would you say that definitely stuck with that track?
Oh yeah, 100%. And that was my favorite track for a long time before I recorded it live. Um, just because I'd always played acoustic and it was so fun. Like I had all these visions for it. And then we got in the studio and oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many takes it took because I had never practiced playing with a metronome before. So I was like hearing the click in my ear and me and the drummer just kept getting off and it was so like we couldn't find the right sound. Like I think finally we got it, but it was such a learning experience. Everything about that song is so I just feel like it encapsulates a lot of my journey as an artist, I would say. So very therapeutic for me at least. And I hope it's therapeutic for the people that listen to it as well.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think like the themes and really just the like that everybody experiences that and can kind of relate to that in some form or fashion. Yeah. And then now knowing there was a more even more meaning to it with the right. relationship and and also like the band part of it. Like hey, like we had to figure this out in the studio and like get it right.
Exactly.
Well, you got a lot of it feels like throughout the album it felt a couple of words I wrote down, slide guitars, folksy, like lots of kind of, that vein, like, for this one, the music part of it, like you mentioned the metronome piece, but like, when you were writing the guitar parts and different things like that, were you writing that? Would you have some collaboration? Like what did that look like?
I did a lot of collaboration with CJ because it was mainly, I stayed at the cabin for 4 days overnight and I would just sit and like talk with him. We'd like come up with these parts and one of my best friends, Sam, who is also my drummer, we sat there like a couple weeks before and we kind of mapped out all the drum parts. So like there was no question about it. But sometimes like we would get into the studio and things would change because again, at the time, I didn't really know what the sound that I was even going for. So like he would play something and I'd be like, yep, like that's great. And then I'd hear it on the track and I was like, no. So it was definitely a learning experience for me there, especially with like my musicality and like figuring out everything with drums. But I did all like the rhythm guitar on it and like the finger picking. And then also one of my good friends, Steven Londonio, he played a lot of like the lead guitar stuff for the Aftermath and for Acceptance, and now he's in my band as well. So it was really cool to see like both of them come into the studio and like be super helpful, and then now we like play together all the time. So it was really nice.
Love it. For this one, obviously I've heard the word learning experience a ton. As you've started to write stuff, as this has been out for a little bit, like how much what are you doing differently? What have you like kind of applied from the experience of recording Acceptance into the stuff you're writing now?
I would say I've learned to be a stronger advocate for myself. There are some things with the album. I always hear artists like there was like, oh, I recorded my first album, I hear I was holding back. I never understood it until I put out my first release of an album and I was like, there are things that I wish I would have done differently. So now I feel like I'm more intentional with my writing. I listen to the demos over and over and over again. And like really try to write out what I want. I come up with references for each track. Like if I'm hearing like dream pop, like shoegaze elements on one song, like I will create an entire playlist just for one track and I'm like, this is everything. Like these are the aspects that I want. Or if it's more like folksy, like country adjacent, then I'll put like Phoebe Bridgers and like Boy Genius and like I'll come up with a Spotify playlist and just add all those tracks for that as well. So when I get into the studio, there's no question of like the instrumentation that I want. And then obviously I'll let things unfold naturally. But like, for example, Acceptance took like 2 days to record, like, and it was one song. And it felt kind of rushed at times. Even with how long we were taking on it, I just didn't really feel like I was as intentional as I wanted to be with it. And then like last week, I went to record a new single and we were in and out of there in like 10 hours or less. And we recorded the entire thing just because of all of the things I think we all learned from each other from the previous time. We're like, okay, like reference tracks, instrumentation, like time, like we were like time blocking everything. It was super efficient, super fun as well. But that's just something that I've realized while recording, is to be super intentional about everything.
Yeah. I think one of the guys I just released last week, he's an older gentleman. He's, kind of gotten into it, as he's, gotten up, in his career, and he's, creating songs right now for his daughters. But one of the things he said was like, yeah, like have your, if you're going to work with studio musicians, like have what you want. And like, I think those reference tracks and things he said were very super, super important. So shout out, the agency,
Yes.
Georgia G. And he was like, yeah, man, like this is how you need to do it. And, so it was good to kind of hear that, like, hey, how's that process work? What are the things you need to do? So very cool that you've gotten, you feel better about the efficiency, and you're like, all right, like, hey, you'll be able to knock out, more and more stuff. And
right. It just makes me more excited. So
yeah,
it's always good.
I love it. With acceptance, last thing on this one, like, the way you want to play it live, right? Like if I'm, walking into the pocket, I know this is after, it'll be after when this releases, but when I'm walking to the pocket on October 12th, like what are the things, how do you want that song to be presented? Is it going to be acoustic? Is it going to be, we're going to, add some other elements to it? Talk me through it.
Well, originally it was recorded on acoustic guitar, and then the lead obviously was electric drums, and then CJ played bass on it. Since then, we have a permanent bass member in the band, and his name's Xavier. He rips it. Like, I have never met somebody so cool when they play bass. Like, he's just like all over the front. Like, it's so awesome. So it definitely, when we play it live, I think it has a little bit more energy, because now I play everything on electric. I've found that it's a lot more efficient to just have my electric and like on clean, rather than switching from acoustic to electric and then going DI and then like, switching again. So yeah, I play it on electric, and it kind of adds a little bit more twang to it, and it kind of gets the audience like hyped up. I love it. I love playing it live. We open with it every time, so it's always hits the crowd with a bang.
Get the opener, get them excited, get their attention. Well, speaking through that, I mean, like you mentioned, you played, Mac Rock, the DIY festival. Take me through that experience. Whenever you're, I guess you hadn't released the songs you've kind of put out yet, but you had, an EP out and a couple things out. So, how'd you create that set list? What were the things you did, to practice? Did your current band play with you? Take me through the whole experience.
Yeah, so I went to Mac Rock last year for the first time, and I was just in awe, and I was stunned. I did not think I was going to get in. I was like, I don't have an album out yet. I mean, I have a Google Drive of all like my rough bounces, but they weren't mixed yet. I was like, I don't really know how I'm feeling about it, but I'm going to submit it anyway, because the worst they can say is no. So I submitted it in November. I didn't find out until the day I got back to college after winter break. It was like snowing outside, and I had a really like weird feeling all day. I was like, something's about to happen. Like, I'm on like the brink of something. And one of my friends who like runs it, and I promise it's a very unbiased listening experience. Like, if you know the person, you're not allowed to vote on their music. I guess there's like a whole voting process and everything. He texts me, he's like, hey, emails are coming out today, but I just want to let you know that you're in for Mac Rock. And I literally called every member of the band, and I like, oh my gosh, it sounds so overdramatic, but I was like tearing up in my bed. Like, I was jumping up and down. It was the coolest experience, because there's so many bands that I saw last year that have just inspired me so much. Not even just their music, but their demeanor, the way they carry themselves, like their eagerness to keep putting records out and just create a community around them. Like, it was so unreal for me. And so I found out I got in, and it was a lot more work than I was expecting, because I had to come up with like input list, stage plot, like figure out my set list early on. And it was something I was taking very seriously. Like, I was planning out that entire weekend. And they're very organized with it, so it definitely helped my nerves a little bit. But I did play with the band that I currently have, and the set list was just a lot of the album. I had one like unreleased song on there that still isn't released yet, but it'll be coming out as a single soon. Teaser. But yeah, it was a really great experience. And then I remember seeing so many people in the audience that I admired, and like there's this one artist in the area named Nabil, and he's like he's an indie artist, and he just is so cool and has now moved to Richmond, I think. But I saw him walk in during my set, and I remember Steven and I looking at each other, and we're like, oh my God, like we almost started freaking out because like we couldn't hear each other. But it was so cool. I can't even begin to explain like the high that I felt for the following like 2 months after that. It was awesome.
Yeah, probably hard to go back to the the house shows and different things like that after doing a big festival like that.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
Very cool. Well, I mean, I think like what's on tap in the future. Obviously we got the Pocket coming up. You mentioned a single. Like, give us the rundown. What do we got coming up here?
I'm trying to play more shows outside of Harrisonburg. I'm trying to like travel a little bit more, because now I feel like I have a set list, that stays permanent, and I'm obviously continuing writing. I have like 12 songs in the vault right now that I'm working on trying to get recorded. I just recorded a single a couple weeks ago that is, I think, my favorite song I've ever recorded with anybody. It's so upbeat and so fun, and like it's everything that I've always wanted to be, I think, which is really nice to like remind myself like I'm accomplishing everything that like 14-year-old Abby wanted. So it's really cool, and it's such a surreal experience. But yeah, I'm looking to release new music. I am filming like music videos. I have like a lot of live videos coming out. Just had a music video come out like 3 weeks ago, which was also insane. So like, I don't know, everything's like moving at a very fast pace, but I feel very blessed to be able to like experience that and not feel stagnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't often get to ask this, but like, I know you're in college. Like, how is it like kind of balancing both those things? As a former athlete myself, it's like having a job. So what is this like?
I'm going to be so honest and keep it so real right now. It's terrible. Like, I'm a double major with a minor on top of like trying to do music full time. Like, music is everything to me. Like, that is all I want in the future. And obviously, like, I enjoy learning a lot. Like, I love being in the classroom. I think it's important for me to feel like educated, and I think education is a privilege. So like I might as well like take it, but music and creating makes me feel like on a high I've never felt before. So it's really hard because I'll be sitting in class, and like, especially weeks leading up to like gigs. This week I cannot focus in class because I'm so excited for DC. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's all I can think about. I'm like responding to emails in class. I'm like, girl, you're gonna need to lock in. Like, you're a college student as well. But I would say it's getting a little bit harder to manage just because I'm getting so excited about music that I can't think about anything else. But I think it's a good problem to have because it makes me like more determined to, do well in school. And then that way I could like come back and I can write, if I get something done, it's like my reward is like writing a few songs or, like coming up with new inspiration. So I would say like it has its pros and it has its cons as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're finding that balance, and we'll continue to see it. Well, appreciate you sharing all that stuff. Obviously, everybody go follow her on the Spotify, go follow her on Instagram. Find her, in a town near you. Obviously, our folks in DC, they're going to have been blessed with the show by the time this comes out. So lucky for them. We're going to roll into a little bit different segment here. The Pete Peterson Party Pack of Questions. Real 20, I think it's actually not 20 questions in a row. It's just like kind of a hodgepodge here, but we'll get to know you a little bit better on a food level,
Okay.
But we'll rip it here. Pete Peterson's Party Pack of Questions, 20 questions right in a row. Here we go. Abby Jean,
Okay.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
She's caking it up. All right. Salad or soup?
Actually, it's fall, so soup.
Fall. Okay.
It's fall
soup.
time. It has to be soup season.
Soup season. Okay.
Yeah.
Sunrise or sunset? What are you seeing more of these days?
Sunset. Sunset's beautiful here in Harrisonburg. Can't recommend it more.
I love it. Golden hour in Harrisonburg.
Yes.
Yours truly, Abby Jean. It's been endorsed. All right. Would you rather hit a home run or score a touchdown?
Score a touchdown. I feel like Or
Yeah, for sure. All right, night in or night out? What are you having more of these days?
I'm having more nights out, I would say.
Okay,
It's
all right.
fun. I'm very social butterfly.
Okay, well, social butterfly, when your jam comes on, are you more likely to hit the robot or the worm on the dance floor?
Hit the robot. I'm always hitting the robot.
Okay, all right, all right. We got the robot going. Let's go. All right, guac or queso at the local Mexican spot?
Guac.
She's guacking around. All right, waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
All right, waffles. Coffee or tea with your waffles?
Coffee.
Coffee up. All right,
Which
dogs or cats?
dogs.
Love that. All right, would you rather be a ninja or a pirate?
Ninja. I think that's
Okay.
kind of awesome.
All right, chips or pretzels?
Chips.
Chipping it up. Okay. Fries or tots?
Fries.
Love that. Okay. After a long day and you've already done your writing that you are enjoying so much, you're going to hit a TV show or a movie to unwind.
TV show, Sex in the City.
Okay. All right. How many times have you seen it through?
So many I can't even count.
Wow. All right. Are aliens real?
Yes.
Bigfoot. That real?
I'm skeptic. I can't answer that one truthfully right now.
Okay. Is love at first sight real?
No.
All right. There you go. And finally, Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Give us two bands that we might not know that we ought to check out.
Public Circuit and Dogwood Tales.
Public Circuit and Dogwood Tales.
Yes. Can I give a third?
You may.
The Anticline.
The Anticline.
Yes. All great bands. Awesome.
I love it. I love it. Well, Abby, you crushed the Pete Peterson party pack of questions. Last thing, what's the last thing you searched on Spotify or Google Music?
Okay,
or Google Music, Apple Music?
The last thing I searched was Is This Love 2018 remastered by Whitesnake.
All right. Some Whitesnake.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. All right. Let's go. Mine was Love Roller Coaster by Ohio Players.
Awesome.
You know, get it going. But Abby, appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the program. Everyone check out her music and follow her on Spotify and Instagram, all those places. They will be linked below. Abby, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Awesome. Take care.
You as well.